Okay. Here's the two great people.
Here, here.
Cheers!
Cheers to your health.
What's that?
How was that?
That's awesome.
All right, everyone. At this time, I would like to bring up anyone that would like to share a personal story on how they remember George and Larry. Would there someone like to begin? Oh, Larry here. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Larry Nagel. I've been coming here since 1961, and over those years I have seen many, many changes from when I was a teenager jumping over these trees all the way down to the docks. But I'll tell you one thing that has never changed, and that's the love George and Larry have showed me, my family, my parents, my wife. So my wife and I would like to thank you for the many years our children learned to walk here, some of them, and the many years of love that you have given us. I'm going to call you Mom and Dad.
Yeah. Nice.
Here, here. Anyone else?
Introduce yourself. I don't need. Hi.
Which button?
Introduce yourself.
Okay.
I'm Dave. Most of you know me. Been around a long time. Don't even know how long. People say how long you've been up here, and we don't even know. But the thing I remember most about Larry and George is their friendship. We've always felt so close to them. They've never said no to anything we've ever wanted or asked for, which isn't much, but they're such giving people, and what a memory we have, and our kids are growing up like all these little kids are, and they'll always remember George and Larry too, because they know so much about you through us. Love you.
Here, here.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Rick Winters. I've been coming up here since, I guess, 1968 or 9, sometime like that. First time I came up was with a group of people I worked with, and I think it was shortly after, if it was 68, or shortly after they had purchased. The only thing I've ever heard them say no to, a couple people wanted to fish in the bass pond. So that was a good no. But I started bringing my children up here in probably 1977 or so. When I came up, my daughter, the oldest daughter, was 7 years old. I was just here last week, and my oldest granddaughter is now 6 years old. I think that's 35 years or something like that, but we've made it every single year. And the kids have come with me every single year, and even as they got older with their other families and now the grandkids. It's a real special place to me and to our family. And I just want to thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm Bonnie Distad. I've been coming up here since 1980 or 81, something like that. And we always put with our 6 kids, and we stayed for 3 weeks. And there was always a lot of laundry to do, and so Larry said we'd just use my clothesline. So I did, and that was so neat because I always was like home. But Larry is always, and George both are known for acts of kindness. I'll never forget this. Almost all the time when I went to get the laundry, her and Vernita had folded it all up and put it in the basket. And it was such a small thing, but it meant so much to me. And there was a lot of things like that, but that I'll always remember that whenever I take down clothes, I remember that and how precious that was to me. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else would like to say something to George and Larry? Oh, Corey's coming up.
Okay, now don't quote me on this, but I think my dad found this place because he was lost around here and he stumbled onto the campground. I think I've been coming up here since I was 8, and we've gone just about every year, and our oldest is going to be 17 in 2 months. And I thank you for the many years and all of the great memories, and I appreciate you helping me build those memories for my children as well. Thanks, guys. We love you.
Here you go.
I forget how long it's been since we've been coming.
Your name?
Oh, Carolyn Nutt. Right over there. And our children came here for a while. I remember telling people that this is the only place, things have changed over the years, I know, that the people would pick you up to take you to church and not the casino. And I thought, some resorts you head to the casino and here we headed to church, and that was such a special thing. Another thing, every time anybody comes or leaves, there's a hug. Never fails. If you come on Monday and you leave on Tuesday, hug on Monday, hug on Tuesday. Come on Thursday, hug on Thursday. You know, it's just really special. And I'm not nearly as old as George and Larry. They know everybody. They remember everybody's name. I'm so in awe of that. It's just wonderful. And you guys are just great. Thanks.
All right, this is wonderful, everyone. Anyone else that would like to say something? We have a lot of special people here that traveled many, many miles, and a lot of family and friends. Everyone here, as part of the Branstead family, you all are family to us and to George and Larry. And this is so special to me and to you guys, I'm assuming, that everyone is here to celebrate 65 years of marriage. It's unbelievable. Thank you so much for being an inspiration to me and my family, and your love to each other is unbelievable. So thank you.
I would like to say a couple of words, if I can, please.
Close to your mouth. Close to your mouth.
When we bought this place, there wasn't much here. Most of you remember that were here when I first bought the place. In each cabin was about 3 light bulbs, one for each room, and one plug in the kitchen where you could plug in your toaster or whatever. And you had a kerosene stove to cook on, and you had a box burner to burn wood in that you could have your heat. And in many cases, cabins weren't large enough so that you could have all of this stuff in the cabin, so we had to add on a room here and a room there, and in a lot of cases, porches were never used as porches. They were used as, until I come. And I can remember the first time I walked into cabin 2 up here. I walked in there and I walked into one of the bedrooms, and they used it as a kitchen. And I looked at those walls and I couldn't understand why in the world you could just see the grease running down the walls from these kerosene stoves. And so I grabbed a hold of that kerosene stove and I threw it out the window without opening it. So I knew it had to be fixed. And so therefore, a lot of the cabins have been added on to, and so forth and so on. And the campground was, when you walked down or drove down to the beach or the docks down here, the brush would brush on both sides of the car, sumac. And so at that time, when I was still in Austin, I belonged to the scout troop, and I invited them to come up here in the fall of the year, and I bought it. And you should have seen some of the fires we had, burning all this sumac. But yet there was still roots in the ground. And so it became a problem when we mowed, that you kept hitting roots.
Still is.
But most of them now are bigger tree neck roots than they were at that time. But my boys spent many hours digging these roots out so that we could have a lawn. Because the fellow before me that owned it, Agater, wouldn't allow people to drive on what he called a lawn at that time. You parked where he told you to park and no place else. When I moved into this place after I had bought it and we came up and to take possession of it, I had to park up here on the road by 5 because there was no road down here and he wouldn't allow people to drive where there was no road. He wasn't out the driveway until I had my car to the doorway of the cabin that we had here. The cabin that I call a corn crib. Now, because at that time, we lived in that for how many years? 14, 15? Well, 14 or 15 years we lived in it. And you could light a match and hold it to the wall and the match would be blown out. Because he had used this log siding on the cabin, and at the time the wood that he bought for his siding was still green. And so when it dried, you had cracks a half an inch wide. And therefore, when we finally put a gas stove in that we could keep warm in, we had Kleenex and facial tissue and what have you stuffed all over in these cracks to keep the breeze from coming through. Now I've been up here when it's been 40 below zero in that cabin, and you can't imagine what kind of fire you had to have in order to keep warm. I can remember coming up here snowmobiling at one time, and I can remember taking our shoes off side of the bed, and the next morning they were froze to the floor. And I can also remember the time that I were up here when it was 44 below zero, and we had to put charcoal under our gas tanks in order to have heat, because the propane would not gas. And so therefore we had to put something on the tanks to warm it up so that we could burn. So we went through a lot of misery as well as the great friends that came along with it. You can't imagine what it's like having the friends that we have made here at this resort, and what a blessing it has been to us, and what a blessing it has been for our health, and what a blessing it has been to everyone concerned here at the resort. Because we have had to live it. We've lived this resort. And I'm sorry that my age is telling me that very soon I'm not going to be able to take care of this place. And I wouldn't be able to take care of it now were it not for my 2 sons. And our grandchildren and what have you that come and help us. And so we have to give praise to them that they have enabled us to do this and to live and make the friends that we have here at this resort. And it's been a blessing for us, and I hope that we have been a blessing for you, that you can appreciate the work that we have put into this place and enjoy it like we have enjoyed it for the 65 years that we have been married. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. I think everyone has the same feelings. Let's go back outside. I think the rain's done. Hip, hip.
Hooray!
Hip, hip.
Hooray!
And let's have some fun games. And we'll have at 8 o'clock, we'll have a special kids